right, thanks everybody for joining us today for another installment of TouchCare Talks. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by Giselle Lazo, who's the lead recruiter over at Odin Technologies. Giselle, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about what you do?
Yes. So I'm the director of recruiting at Odin Technologies. Really what I'm focused on is bringing on new talent, working with our leadership to really determine what talent we have in-house and what we're going to potentially go out for market for, mostly focused on technology and sales recruiting.
Awesome. Yeah, so not all companies are lucky enough to have somebody like you on staff, right, who's focused solely on finding new talent to help the company grow. And you've done it at a handful of some of the most exciting startups here in the city, which is really cool. So I think you have a unique perspective. Employee benefits are consistently rated as a top factor for employees to either go to a new employer or stay with their current employer. How do you see that playing out in the recruiting process for you as you're trying to bring new talent into your organization?
So one of the things that I've seen in recruiting when we discuss benefits or perks during the closing stage has been, a few years ago, focusing on the office or being able to have perks like beers or free lunch. People were really focused on that. But now the conversations that I'm really starting to have around the closing stage or even really early on in the process when I initially speak to a candidate has been focused on what benefits do you offer? How much do they cost? What is your wellness programs? Do your wellness programs include mental health? Do they include gym memberships? Do you offer parental leave? These things are starting to be super important, I think, to candidates. And the reason for that is because there's a big theme on work-life balance. People want to be able to come into work and feel super motivated in their careers, but they also want to be able to have a life outside of work, which includes having, really thoughtful benefits, having the ability to also work from home, and being able to do things, whether it be, again, going to a gym or being able to have lunch in the office that are healthy options. Those are the types of conversations I'm starting to have with candidates today.
That's interesting. So the conversation has shifted away from some of the more, I guess, perks related to working for an employer and more focused back on the nitty gritty or the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the actual benefits package. Do you find that people are getting into conversations with you around like plan design and like how the plans actually work and they're knowledgeable enough to be able to use that as an evaluation tool?
Yes, and people actually want to be able to have documentation to review either early on in the process or definitely during the offer stage. I never present an offer. It's no longer about what is my base salary going to be. It's also what other options am I going to have here compared to other competitors that I'm currently interviewing with at the time, right? So cost is important and what those perks offer, right? We say typically when you're closing out a candidate, you're like, we offer so many benefits and perks. People really want a breakdown of that, whether that includes unlimited PTO or flexible, being able to work from home, also being able to understand the different types of cost of benefits and, versus, today at Odin, for example, we offer a plan that's at minimal cost. But they're like, well, why is it at minimal cost? What does that deductible look like? Is it large? Is there a document that I can review in order for me to really understand what I'm going to be committing to? Because this is also a part of my compensation, right?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. We're getting smarter consumers, right? As costs have shifted more and more onto the employee, they've been forced into thinking about these things, really. You mentioned earlier in the conversation, and it keeps coming up, the closing stage of bringing an employee on board, right?
Yes.
And I think what it's probably lost on a lot of people is a recruiter is essentially a sales job, right? Like your job is to sell somebody on why they should come work for your company. What suggestions or strategies do you have for employers or HR teams that maybe are just checking the box with the benefits instead of using them as a tool to actually go out and sell people on why they should come work for their company?
I think it's really understanding why the candidate is actively in the market, right? It's typically, yes, for career growth, but there's other things that are important to them. You have to really tune into personal, people are really open and like to disclose also life-changing events that are happening in their life. And life-changing events are happy events like being married or having a child. And then you can sort of really, if you listen to your candidates and sort of engage them in that way, being able to paint a bigger picture, but also being really thoughtful with how you present benefits, right? You have to also be inclusive. Not everyone has a family, or not every, there's people, also candidates that have pets, for example.
Right.
And people, so you want to be able to present your benefits plan where it includes all types of candidates, where everyone sort of feels that they will have a perk or an option when they join the organization that allows them to be able to have, again, that work-life balance that is starting to become really important right now to candidates.
It's a lot of work to put together the right package that resonates with all demographics at the end of the day, right? Cool. Well, Giselle, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed the conversation, and good luck with everything over at Odin. Sounds like an exciting company.
Thank you.
Thanks.